Yeah. Pro Fan Sports Podcast. Let's get it. Pro fans, tune into the program. Every single week, get the dope, fam. Sean on the mic, very flat too. Keep you updated, that's what we do. Pro fans, tune into the program. Pro fans, tune into the program. Pro fans, tune into the program. Every single week, get the dope, fam.
Yo, what it do, everybody? It's your boy John Altidor with Pro Fan Sports Podcast, where the fans of the pros go. Back at you with my boys, Vlad and Barry. What's good, my dudes?
Yo, what's going on? How's everybody doing?
Doing good. Hanging in there. It's a tough week, but we're hanging in.
Yeah, man. And Barry, you got to say it, man.
Oh yeah, that's right. I gotta drop the usual bomb. It's episode 24.
Yeah,
today,
man.
Yeah?
Kobe.
Episode.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, it's that Kobe episode.
Right. Yes, sir. Big shout outs to Kobe.
Yeah. But first, before we start the show, as always, we'd like to remind you, if you have any questions that you would like us to answer on the show, please send us an email or DM us on any of our social media accounts. And the email is profansports1@gmail.com. And you can find us on social media, Instagram, profans_sport, Twitter, profansports, Facebook, profansports, YouTube.com/profansports. And if you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can go to www.profansports.com and it'll give you the direction to do that. As always, we drop every Tuesday morning and on every single platform out there that you probably know right now. We're actually on 17 different platforms right now. And we drop on YouTube every Wednesday, so be on the lookout for that. Also, before we started off, we wanted to say rest in peace to old Trailblazer player Clifford Robinson. He spent 18 years in the NBA and he passed away this week. And also Chadwick Boseman, aka the Black Panther, Jackie Robinson. Who else he played? James, what's his name? James Brown. He did all that stuff, man.
Right. He did quite a bit of movies.
Yeah, he just did that Netflix joint, about the black soldiers in the Vietnam War, I believe it was.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, but that hit me hard on Saturday. Was it Friday? Friday I was, I was having dinner or whatever, and then I looked at my phone and I saw people posting pictures of Chadwick Boseman, and I didn't understand why, and then I read the text and I saw that happen. I feel as though he's just such a prominent picture, especially with the Black Panther. Like, I was a big fan of him, big fan of his personality, big fan of what he stands for. And to hear that he passed away was such a big blow for me. Just adding another thing to 2020, you know what I mean? And also to hear that he had colon cancer for 4 years and he was battling colon cancer
Right.
while he was smiling in our face. He was playing two to three different big movies. You know what I mean? And we never heard about his struggles. You know what I mean? Like he always showed up with the best face, the best attitude, and it just shows you that people can be going through anything and you wouldn't know, you know what I mean? And I just want to thank him for what he did for us, for the culture, for black people,
For the culture.
the picture he put out there,
The image.
and I remember how big Black Panther was. Like, everybody was excited, everybody was ready to go see Black Panther, and I'm glad we showed up for him in that manner, and I'm glad he showed up for us and played the role so well, played Jackie Robinson so well, and also all the speeches that's been coming up on social media lately where he's talking about what it means to be black. It's all been beautiful, and may he rest in peace, and prayers to his family.
Yeah, man. That's a fact.
Definitely, for sure. A tough loss seeing that. I remember when I, saw that on Friday night. I saw it from the IG, the IG podcast account. Excuse me. It was posted on there, and I just saw that said R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman, and when I saw that, I was stunned and in total shock, and didn't believe that it was true. And then I saw other people posting about it, and saw that the reports came out saying that it was true that he did pass away, and it was definitely disheartening and pretty heartbreaking to see such a young man and such a successful young black man and successful actor go away so early and too soon. It's like that's kind of been like the common theme of 2020. It's like we've seen quite a few people leave, way before their time, and so young, and so with so much life ahead and so much more to do and to give. So it's been an unfortunate year, and it continues with this passing. So I want to say R.I.P. Condolences to him and his family and his loved ones, and appreciate everything he did in his career with all the movies he came out with, and and his impact on the world. So it's definitely will never be forgotten, and will always be appreciated by people like me.
Yeah, no, that's a fact, man. I think black culture, just urban culture in itself. I don't want to say black, because I know a lot of people are participating in the culture. I think just the minority culture in itself is just like beautiful, right? There's like these figures that that are around us, that are doing stuff, and like all of us, we don't really talk about it, but at the same time we all understand that this person is that dude. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Nipsey Hussle when Nipsey Hussle died. You know what I'm saying? I guarantee you there's not a lot of people that were listening to the music as intently as they were until he died. But at the same time, we all knew like how big he was to the culture. And it's like this unspoken thing that we all agree on. You know what I'm saying? And then when people like that pass away, it's like, yo, what the hell? You know what I mean? It's like Black Panther, what's that, like the highest grossing movie of all time or whatever?
Right.
And,
yeah.
When it came out, like the excitement for it, and, for minorities to just have, that superhero, not that, like we look up to him that much. Like it's a fictional character at the end of the day, right? But at the same time, it's like it felt... it felt real, and it's like you can relate to that shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We look up to superheroes.
Yes, we do.
Even though they're fictional, we like, as a kid, you growing up, you want to play that character.
Yep.
We never had a black character that we could look up to, that we want to be that character. So I think it was very important for, especially kids growing up now, and for us that grew up watching other superheroes, to have a black guy being that character. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
right.
And it's like, absolutely. I think everybody, when it came out, everybody like felt that, you know what I'm saying? That's why so many people attended the movie. And Chadwick Boseman, man, like he played that character like it's like he was born for that shit, man.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, like I don't think there was anybody else on this planet that could have did as good of a job as he did playing Black Panther.
I can't even think of anybody.
Like, are you serious? Can you imagine?
No one else comes to mind that would have, killed it the way that he killed it and done a better job. Right. That was a sensational and spectacular job that he did with that.
Can you imagine like the next person that's gonna like audition to be the Black Panther? Like you can't mess up on that, because he did such a beautiful job. And like whenever he spoke, the humility he spoke with, like, I remember he was at this award show, and he won for like best actor or some shit. I forgot what the award was.
Yeah.
And he was up there making a speech, and he's basically like, everybody's telling him like he's this hero because obviously he plays Black Panther and he's the first black whatever superhero that's that had a big picture film that came out. And you know, he was accepting the award, but he pointed out this guy. I forgot the guy's name, but he was one of those guys that there was a shooting that happened, and the black guy went in there and pretty much like took out the shooter and like saved everybody else in there. And I remember Donald Trump didn't say anything to him about it, and like, you know, gave, you know, somebody else the spotlight. So he was basically like, he called that guy up there. He's like, that guy's the real hero. And he brought him up there. He's like, this award is going to live at your house. You take this. You know what I mean? And it's like stuff like that. It's
and
like,
I bet you he was suffering from cancer at that point.
At the same time.
And
I'm sure he was.
And he knew that he wasn't going to live long because it was stage 4 cancer, right?
Yeah.
When you have stage 4 cancer, it's like, you almost have they give you like, okay,
a timetable.
You can go 6 months to a year, like, you know, I mean, I don't know exactly what it was in his case, but I'm sure he knew.
He knew.
Yeah, you know,
absolutely.
you know, and I feel as though he spent the last 4 years just dedicating himself to bringing new energy to people, bringing wiseness to people, and
think about this. He did this interview when Kobe died.
Yeah.
And Kobe died when? This year.
Right.
Yeah.
In January.
Can you imagine? Like, he's talking about how Kobe impacted like the world and what he did, and this guy, he's going through this right now, and he knows he's gonna die too. Like, yo,
right.
I'm actually gonna die this year, but I'm going to talk about this guy that just passed. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe he didn't think he was going to, but like he knew in the back of his mind, stage 4 cancer is nothing to fuck with. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
he knew his time was coming. Exactly.
And, you know, it went up to stage 5, and, you know, it obviously did what it did. And shout outs to his team for actually not putting it out in the world that he was going through this, so that he could continue
they kept
giving us all these pictures that he gave us, you know, all these characters that he played that meant so much to the community. And you know how I got the news?
No, how did you get it?
My daughter called me, and it was probably like 10:30, 11 p.m. This was Friday. And my daughter called me, and she's like, Daddy, Black Panther died. Black Panther died. I'm like, wait, like, doesn't he die in the movie? I'm like, yeah. She, you know, he dies, but he'll be back though. He's gonna be back. You know what I mean? That's what I told her. No, she's like, no, Daddy, Black Panther died, and I'm like, yeah, I know. But she was with my sister. She's like, no, Chadwick Boseman died. And immediately was like, yo, that's heavy, bro.
Yeah. For real. I got a random text that night saying, hey, Chadwick Boseman died, with like the broken heart emoji or whatever. Yeah. Like from an unknown number. Yeah. It just shows you like how many people it impacted. Like that person that texted me doesn't know me at all. They just was texting somebody else.
Wow.
And they just texted me.
Crazy.
Yeah. I was like, I was like, is this somebody I know? And they were like, no, this is Sesame. And I was like, oh, no, you got the one.
Sesame was affected too, you know.
Right.
No, everybody was affected. I mean, it affected the world of sports. So many athletes came out and made posts about it. LeBron James was talking about it in his press conference last night.
Yeah, man.
He had a very prominent figure in our culture and all over the world.
Yeah, man.
But let's move on.
Yeah, man.
For
sure, man. Nah, it's just like, you know, even us talking about it, it's like, dude, this was big. It had impact, man.
Yeah, and we had to get it off our chest as well.
Right, and you know, I'm sure a lot more people, you know, passed this week, unfortunately, and rest in peace to them as well, man. You know, but it's just something when something hits you like that, because it's like we felt he was in our house. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like he was in all our houses.
Like and also we were all looking forward to seeing him in so many movies.
Yes,
so many. Like I know Black Panther 2 is coming out at some point.
On that, right?
Is that done?
I don't know if that's done, but I'm still
working.
I'm sure they're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, man.
Like they're gonna have a stunt double, do certain pieces. I'm sure they'll figure it out.
Yeah, man.
But it's not gonna be what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, man.
Right. And there's just one one thing that I want to say before we move on to the next topic: Wakanda forever.
Nah, for sure, man. Wakanda forever, dog.
Yes, yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
and it's like, shit, I want to go to Wakanda. You know?
Right.
And a lot of people made jokes about it when the movie came out, but it's like, dude, like, can you imagine, you know, a nation that fucking beautiful and, you know, just gave all of us, you know, that hope, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
It's crazy that it was through a movie, but clearly all of us have been impacted, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, absolutely Wakanda forever. You know, that was absolutely sad news that we got, but you know, it seems like all week has been pretty sad.
Heavy.
You know what I'm saying? It's been a heavy week in itself, period, man. And you know, that's gonna take us into the NBA and you know, the NBA players boycott. You know, a lot of teams were going to like their fifth games, and something happened. You know, with the Jacob Blake shooting. If you guys don't know what Jacob Blake shooting is, you know, as we like to say on this show, if you've been living under a rock, Jacob Blake is a black man that had an altercation with the police. I don't want to say altercation, that had, an experience with the police. A run-in. Where, you know, the police were giving him a command and he did not comply to the command, so he headed to his car, and while he opened his door, he got shot 7 times in the back unnecessarily by a police officer, and
in front of his kids.
In front of his kids, who actually, it was his 8-year-old's birthday. So if you can, I just heard that today, man. If you can imagine, you know,
it even worse.
On your kid's birthday, you're trying to. I don't know the full, you know, details of everything that happened. But, you know, from what I'm hearing, he was trying to stop an altercation from happening, a domestic dispute from happening, and the police were called. And when he was called, when they came, he basically was giving them, you know, the jurisdiction, as you know, as to say, like, you guys handle this. And he was headed to his car to bring his kids home, and then he ends up getting shot in the back 7 times. He's paralyzed in the hospital. So, you know, kind of like the George Floyd situation happened, and it sparked all these protests. You know, the Jacob Blake situation actually sparked a lot more protests, and, you know, including with the NBA. So, starting with the Milwaukee Bucks team, they decided to boycott the 5th playoff games against the Magics, and, you know, that had a snowball effect because MLB followed suit. The NHL came in also, but late. The NFL followed suit. A lot of teams were having conversations about, you know, what just transpired with Jacob Blake and Black Lives Matter and social justice, and, you know, the pretty much the state of the country, period, because there's a lot of unrest, you know, around that whole situation. So I know you guys, I haven't spoken to you guys all week about it, but I know you guys, if I know you guys have been thinking about this all week. So I just want to hear your thoughts on it and how you're feeling.
Well, also very, very important, the WNBA had canceled their games
absolutely.
that day.
Yes, absolutely.
MLS has canceled their games that day. The WNBA made some really impressive speeches and really impressive demonstration on their court, where they had shirts with 7 bullets in their back.
Oh my God, that one was crazy right there. I was like, wow.
So I want to give credit to the women in the WNBA for their powerful messages as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Big shout out WNBA.
You know, I mean, I think early in the week there had been whispers about, mostly the whispers. The whispers I was hearing at first was the Toronto Raptors games against the Celtics that was supposed to be played on Thursday, August 27.
Something like that.
27. No, that's right. 27.
That game was supposed to be played, and I had been hearing rumors that the Toronto Raptors were discussing not playing that game. That's the first rumor that I heard, and then on Wednesday, the 26th, earlier that day, I heard there was rumors that the Milwaukee Bucks was also thinking of calling off their games. And listen, I was all for it.
Yep.
There's no doubt in my mind that when those guys are threatening to do such thing, to create sparks, to create conversation, to bring attention to an issue that needs to be brought attention to, I support it wholeheartedly. Although I was very surprised, I did not think they were gonna do that, but it just showed you that those players were fed up, right? So before they came into the bubble, they had thoughts of, some of them had thoughts of not going to the bubble because there was the protests going on around George Floyd, but they decided that going into the bubble will give them the stage to speak up about what's been happening. So they got the stage. They wore shirts that had messages against police brutality. LeBron James had different interviews. Jaylen Brown had interviews. Jason Tatum had interviews where every player, I feel as though not every player, but almost every player had like messages against police brutality in support of Black Lives Matter. You know, the NBA has the court with Black Lives Matter on it. Every game they kneel, and they feel as though they were doing so much to bring attention to what's going on, and then boom, the same thing happened again. You know what I mean? Same thing happened again where a black man is getting mistreated by the police, and this guy actually got shot 7 times, got paralyzed in front of his kids. It's almost like all the effort that they're making on the stage at the bubble is almost to no end, right? Like nothing has been coming out of it. So they said, you know what? We need to bring this to another level. We need to bring this to a level where the owners need to be impacted so that they can, because they have more power than us as players, so they can make changes, they can push certain change. And you know, I supported the players wholeheartedly. Even when I heard there was rumors of the league being canceled altogether, when there was a vote where the Lakers and the Clippers had decided to opt out, and the other teams had decided to stay. And even if they were to cancel the rest of the season, hey, I was in support of it as long as they change, as long as it pushes the conversation where it needs to be pushed. Sometimes you need to take drastic measures, right? Like it took a lot of guts for the players not to play their game, and it would have taken a lot of guts for them to cancel the whole season, even though they were like the Lakers and the Clippers are some of the 2 best teams that are potentially winning the championship, and for them to decide that they didn't want to continue playing, that's big. Like that's money in their pocket, that's legacy, that's LeBron's legacy is in question, Kawhi's legacy is in question. For them to decide to not continue to play, that's brave. That's not a decision you make easy, you know what I mean? Right. So that's a decision you make because you feel as though there's more important things going on in the country that you definitely want to push, and you want to push change toward it. But eventually they decided to play, and Jaylen Brown had a big play in that because he was saying, hey, if you guys are not gonna play, are you gonna go home and go out there and protest?
Right. What's your plan?
Are you gonna make changes?
Exactly.
That I'm a little on the fence about, because I understand where Jaylen Brown is coming from, because if you go home, you definitely have to make you definitely have to make changes or push the conversation. But racism and social injustice and police brutality is such a complex issue that there's not one way. Like being in the street doesn't solve it all. Right. And putting posts, putting shirt doesn't solve it all. It takes being in the street. It takes putting posts. It takes talking to our representatives.
It takes electing the right representatives.
So yeah, electing the right. It takes so much to change all that. So even if the players did go home, I'm not expecting everybody to go on the street and protest, but I do expect everybody to try to do something, making calls to your elected officials, like voting, helping people go vote, or helping people register to vote. Like all that goes toward like addressing those issues. So but they decided that they're gonna stay and play, which is fine with me. But I feel as though they've risen the level of awareness, the level of attention being brought to what's going on. I still think there's much more to be done. But the week that we went through was unparalleled, and it was heavy for every player, and it was history. I mean, when kids 50 years from now, when they're reading the history books, that's something that's gonna be in the history books.
Yeah, imagine the NBA having to postpone games again because of something like that in the future. You know what I'm saying?
Then the league will be suspended.
Absolutely, they'd have to go that measure and go that route for sure.
Right,
no question. Yeah, that's a tough act to follow up. I think Vlad really summed it up and said it all there. I don't really have too much to add on that. Obviously, I had a lot of feelings regarding the, Jacob Blake shooting that happened this week. It's just it's tough to to talk about it because there's so many emotions that go through your mind when you see that, and especially when this is something that is a reoccurring incident in the country with law enforcement and in the black community. It just, you can't help but think, like, are things ever gonna change? Like, is this ever gonna stop? Like, when the George Floyd thing happened a few months ago, and that wasn't obviously too long ago, we saw, a whole bunch of, protests and riots and, and rallies and people, really in the Black Lives Matter, movement really starting to get going, and people really starting to, get their voices out there and really, start to demand change. And we thought that, we were heading in the right direction and making progress and things were getting better. And then for something like this to happen not too long after that, and, it feels like we're heading back to square one, and like, nothing's really changed and nothing has really gotten better. Like, things are just the same that they were before. It seemed as if all what we did earlier with the Black Lives Matter movement was kind of, I don't want to say wasted, but it was just like, it was like, what was really the point if, we at the end of the day are still sitting here in the same position, in the same situation, and we're, and we still haven't, and we still haven't seen what we need to, be able to see in terms of, the change, with the law enforcement and the actual social injustice and the equality and law enforcement actually treating, the black community equal as, white folks and people that aren't black. So whatever, I thought about it all week, particularly that day when I was at work. I couldn't help but think about it, and I, was very emotional. I went on a pretty rant with, my roommates, and really, was, just like fed up with them. But just like these players were sick and tired and fed up of seeing the same shit happen over and over again. And like, these guys are human. Like, of course they're gonna care and have feelings and feel some type of way when they're continually seeing this happen, multiple times within a short period of time. And I commend the NBA and those guys for, doing what they did and boycotting and protesting and not playing, the playoff games, starting with the Milwaukee Bucks and then followed by the rest of the league. I'm definitely, proud of those guys, and impressed with what they did, because I know there were talks about doing that, but I didn't really think they were actually going to back it up with their actions. As we know, actions speak louder than words, and these guys shown that, you know, they're really about that action, and they really, you know, want to see change happen in this country, and that they're, you know, sick and tired of being sick and tired. And you know, which I totally feel him, because I feel the same way. Like, I could only imagine how, you know, it would have must have felt to be in that position. And when I heard the story, I actually thought of, you know, all my friends and people I know that have kids, like, you know, John, for example. You could imagine if you were in that same situation, and you had an interaction with the law enforcement, and you were with your child and your daughter or son, and you know you got shot by a police officer, and your child witnessed that and saw it with their own two eyes. Like, that's, you know, a traumatizing moment, and something that you'll never forget for the rest of your life. That's always something that's gonna stay with you, and you know, in a sight that, you know, no one wants to see. I'm sure, you know, John's daughters want to see. If I had kids, they wouldn't want to see it. Nobody wants to see that happen, and it's like just terrifying and exhausting to be a black man in this country. It's you can't feel safe anywhere in this country, no matter where you are. It's like, you know, you always see this stuff happening. You think, oh no, it's not gonna happen to me. I'm good. That's just, you know, stuff that happens on the news or happens in areas that I'm not living in. But we're seeing this happen all over the country and in too many places, to the point where it's like, damn, like, could this happen to me? Like, could I be next? Like, could something like this happen in my own backyard, in my own city? So, you know, those are the thoughts that I was getting through in my head, and when I first I heard about this story, and you know, it kind of, you know, just brought me into tears, and you know, which I'm kind of starting to feel right now at this moment, because it's mentally draining to have to keep talking about things like this time and time again, and not really, you know, not seeing anyone really do anything about it, or as much as they should be doing. So, you know, hopefully, you know, with the NBA and the rest of the leagues boycotting the leagues in their games this week, hopefully that, you know, it sparks the change that we need. And I know there was a bunch of changes that the players demanded the owners to make, like making several NBA arenas voting sites for this election that they're going to do. So definitely shout out to the NBA players on demanding the owners to do that. So hopefully that gets things going, and, you know, and that is like the start of the change that we need to see in the, you know, in the foreseeable future, because this stuff can't continue to keep happening, or else things will even be worse than than what they currently are. So sorry I went on too long for that, but there was just a lot on my mind that
it's
I
okay.
had.
Thanks for sharing.
For sure. No problem. There was a lot that I had to say, as I'm sure you guys do and feel about these incidences with you know, the black community happening throughout this year. So I appreciate you guys for letting me speak about it as long as I was able to.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You said that, you were shocked and stuff like that. I don't know. I've come to a point where I'm not. It doesn't really, like, I wouldn't say like affect me, but like I'm not surprised or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Like when these things are happening, I'm not. What I wait for is the response of the country, right? When these things happen, and for the most part, the black community, we're like crying. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, this is not good. You know what I mean? But for like other communities, they like to find other reasons for why this happened. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, then talks about, hey, if he should have complied. Hey, it's like, man, this stuff is not happening to other people. There's a reason why this is happening. And, I think a lot about the sports and them boycotting and stuff like that. If that's gonna make a change, I know they have power. Like Jason Tatum was saying in one of his press conferences that the players are powerful together, and that's true because when they decided to postpone the games or boycott the games, like the conversation got even bigger in the country, right? And it seems like as soon as they react, there's a crazy reaction with the communities we're around, right? Yeah. And I read a lot of stuff, man, and I'm on the sports stuff. You guys know that, I'm on Facebook. I'm looking at what's going on. I'm checking the pulse of things, and it's just Jason McCourty or Devin, one of them was talking, and he said basically like he kind of feel like hopeless. Cause I kind of feel hopeless, man.
Said that, right?
And it's like, I feel exactly what he's saying. It's like, no matter what happens, these people, what I'm talking about is the people that don't really want to understand what's going on. Because I feel like for the most part, a lot of people are looking at it and they're like, yo, this is not cool, Right. But there's like this big core, a big chunk of the country that thinks like this stuff is like okay to happen, and when you
that's
see
the problem, John.
Yes, that's the major problem.
And the country that feels that way, it shouldn't be that way.
It's crazy to me because it's like they come up with like the craziest excuses, and it's like what happened to that guy should happen to somebody that has a gun that's been shooting people. You know what I mean? Nobody would care if that happened to a guy like that. But then in the reaction of the situation that happened, this kid, Kyle Rittenhouse, goes and shoots two people, that are protesting the situation. And that guy overnight becomes like a sensation or some shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, there's communities that are glorifying this kid, Kyle Rittenhouse. I saw a bunch of tweets and shit that was like, in a country full of George Floyds, be a Kyle Rittenhouse. And it's like, do you understand this kid just shot 3 people, killed 2 of them, and a guy that was walking into his car got shot 7 times in the back. He didn't have a gun. The kid was allowed to walk around with a gun, underage, against the law, because he couldn't carry that gun. Right?
Exactly. He was only 17. It's crazy.
And I don't want to make this about him, because this whole thing was sparked by the Jacob Blake situation, and I want to keep the spotlight on him. But the reaction of it and how it was perceived by the different communities is like, it's really problematic. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And it's like they bring up, oh, he was a rapist. Every time something happens to somebody, they use their background as if like their background is reason for them to get shot or killed.
Big facts.
It's like, what are we talking about? Who cares? You know what I mean? I understand nobody likes rapists. I definitely don't want to see nobody raping nobody. Right?
Exactly.
But at the same time, you have no idea what the story is. And it doesn't give the police the green light to shoot whoever that person is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just really weird to me. And if I paid attention to it, I feel like it would make me really, really angry. But at the same time, I'm just like, yo, there's something really wrong with our society and how they perceive things. And it's like, yo, you wouldn't want anything like that happen to your family members. And I don't think anybody puts themselves in the shoes of other people. And it's just like, the cops want to go home. Yes, they want to go home, but it's like there's got to be a way you can intervene where people don't end up dead or paralyzed. Like Jacob Blake, he's paralyzed and handcuffed, which makes no freaking sense. I mean, right now he's not handcuffed anymore, but for a long time while he was in the hospital, he was handcuffed. Yeah. And it's like, the guy is paralyzed from the waist down. He cannot walk anywhere. Why do we have a handcuff on him?
Right. Right.
And I don't claim to know Jacob Blake at all. I don't know what his situation, his background is. I don't know what the relationship between him and the police of Kenosha are. But it's like guys should not end up in that situation ever. No matter what. Like the cops are not judge and jury. They can't just make a decision to just kill or just shoot anybody, especially if they're unarmed.
Exactly.
It just doesn't make any sense,
Right.
Protect your life. Somebody's running at you with a knife. I can understand that, but a guy has their back to you.
Pointing a gun at you.
Somebody's pointing a gun. Right. Somebody's coming at you with a broken glass. You know what I'm saying? Please, by all means, shoot them. I mean, if anything, shoot them to stop them, maim them, do something. Yeah. Shoot them in the leg or something. But as we all know, they're not trained to do that in this country. They're trained to kill. Exactly. And that's a major problem because it's like other countries. They're trained to intervene, de-escalate the situation, and a lot of the times, just subdue the person. You got a taser. Use a taser.
I mean, it's 4 cops.
Four cops against
one guy that was unarmed.
Yeah. It's just a major problem, man. And somebody like Brian Urlacher came out and made a stupid ass comment about Brett Favre playing when his dad died. It's like that's 2 different things. First of all, and you do have a black son. What if that was him?
Is he stupid? That has nothing to do with what's going on.
Exactly, man. It makes no sense, man.
Have you seen his tweet?
Yes. I don't even want to repeat it because it's just stupid.
Right. I don't want to give him that time on this podcast.
No, we don't
deserve it. Right. Want to keep the focus, like you said, on Jacob Blake, on the person who deserves the time and to be on the spotlight.
Right, man.
That's facts.
So the timeline was it started on August 26th. It started with Milwaukee Bucks. They ended up not walking onto the court for their 5th game in that series against the Magics. And then the Thunder versus Rockets and the Lakers versus Blazers, they were subsequently called off right after that. And then the WNBA, like Vlad was saying, the MLS and the MLB followed suit and canceled all their games. The only league that did not cancel their game for that day, which they whiffed on really bad, was the NHL. And with that, they actually had to make up for it and stop playing for 2 days. It's like, bro, you can't be that tone deaf, but at least they showed up to the party, man.
For the last ones to the party.
Yeah.
They always show up mad late and fashionably late. You notice that.
Fashionably late.
Every single time, they're always the last ones to pull up. Everyone else pulls up and is there on time or in a reasonable time, and then boom, all of a sudden they show up when they feel like it.
Yeah, man. And it's
every single time.
You guys have to. They got to get with the program, man, and you guys got to check the pulse of what's going on and adjust accordingly. And at the same time, it's like these are organizations. And I know, they do have the right to make a decision to play if they want to. I can't I can't stop that. But it's like the state of the country. There are things more important than some scheduled games. So they definitely need to step up when it comes to that to things like that. Another thing I was seeing throughout the week that I wanted to ask you guys about is about Kyrie Irving, right? So before the NBA restart, Kyrie Irving made a huge stink about not going back and boycotting the league, period, starting, after the coronavirus hiatus. And he got a lot of backlash for it, but I think the backlash was because of the way that he did it. He signed up to play, and then they told him he couldn't come in because he was injured, and then he decided to change his mind. That's what the story is, at least. But since then, he's been doing a lot of stuff, with the communities, with the WNBA, to make sure people are getting awareness. I think he paid salaries of the WNBA or something like that.
Yeah.
He's been doing a lot, which is cool. But I wanted to know, the question that's been going on is, does he does he deserve an apology from anybody? What do you guys think?
I'll let you go first, Barry.
I think y'all know what my answer is gonna be on this, but I'll make it clear. Hell no.
Okay.
Nah, he
Tell us why pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I get his point and can see why he said what he said, but I just really don't think that, you know, he deserves an apology or anybody owes him an apology for trying to, you know, not have the NBA going, because I think he did it from selfish and arrogant and self-centered standpoint. Like, he was in all the meetings. As we know, he's part of the he's one of the vice presidents and part of the NBA players committee, and he was in an association. So yeah, he was on every call and every meeting they had. He was there, and he was cool with them coming back. And the minute they said he didn't, you know what I'm saying, he couldn't because he wasn't gonna be, you know, be able to be there due to his injury and stuff. Then all of a sudden, he didn't really, you know, now he didn't agree with coming back. So I just think he's, you know what I'm saying, cocky, selfish, arrogant prick, and I don't really have too much, you know, respect for him. You know, even though he's done things like to give back to, you know, the community and to help the WNBA out, but, you know, good for him. But I mean, I'm not going to sit here and apologize to, you know, for someone that, you know, always wants to make everything all about him, and, you know, and not about everyone else. So that's really how I feel about him. I know whether I'm being too harsh on him or not, I really don't care, to say the least. So I really think that an apology is not really needed, you know, for Kyrie Irving, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna say too much. I'm gonna just agree with Barry. No, he doesn't deserve an apology. Because if the players weren't actually playing right now, they wouldn't have had the stage to make that big move that they made.
Bingo.
Which sparked all the conversation all week.
Bingo. And
they wouldn't have had this platform. Like, this is the whole reason of why they're there, so that they can use this platform to be able to raise awareness and be able to bring up and mention these issues and keep the conversation going, and don't let people forget about this like they have in the past, because this ain't like the past and this ain't like the other times that it happens. Like, this is gonna be an ongoing thing that happens for the foreseeable future. So that's the whole point of the bubble and the players being in the bubble, besides competing for a championship, is continue to do what they need to do in terms of the social injustice and the Black Lives Matter movement that's going on in the country. And I don't think Kyrie Irving, clearly with his peanut head, didn't see that, you know, from that perspective. But you know, that's certainly something that, you know, everyone and their mother should know now, that that's why they're doing what they're doing with the NBA players.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm not gonna say much either, man. And Vlad, you basically made the one point that I really wanted to make, and you know, that's it right there. You know, if they don't have the platform, they, like, what was LeBron James and all them gonna do if they were at home right now? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they can jump on social media and say certain things. Yeah, that would be on ESPN, no doubt. But I can assure you, everybody who's an NBA fan is tuned into the games right now and was affected, you know, when they were basically like threatening to boycott the rest of the, you know, like all of us was just like, yo, what the fuck are we about to talk about? You know, if the NBA is gone. And, you know, I understand where Kyrie was coming from. I understand the magnitude of the situation it would be if the NBA did boycott, not coming back for the hiatus. But at the same time, like Vlad was saying, man, the impact would have been different if they wasn't on TV in our faces, in our homes, basically every day. So, he definitely doesn't deserve an apology for anything, and that's gonna be that. But
I'm even surprised someone even asked that question, or that question was.
No, it was like a huge topic, man. It was crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, but continuing on with the NBA, with the Eastern Conference. So, everybody's gone through the first round. I believe everybody's gone, right?
Yeah.
The most games that were played is 5 games. And so the Eastern Conference, the first round, these are the results. The Celtics swept the Sixers, if you didn't know by now. The Raptors swept the Nets. The Heat swept the Pacers, and then Bucks went 4-1 against the Magic because they lost their very first game. So that left the Heat versus Milwaukee, and then Celtics versus Raptors. That is actually happening right now as we record this show. So by the time you hear this episode, the results will have been figured out, right? But when it comes to the Celtics versus the Raptors, right? How do you guys think these teams match up with each other position-wise? Well, that, and then who is the marquee player of that series, and what is your prediction?
That's a tough series. Hold up. So the matchup between the Raptors and the Celtics is going to be a very tough matchup. I think it's going to be a very defensively minded matchup. You have the Raptors will finish second in defensive rating, and you have the Celtics will finish fourth in defensive rating toward the regular season. So those are two of the top 5 top 5 defensive rating, highest defensive rating team in the NBA. So whichever team plays the best defense is really gonna win that game. I think the Raptors are really good at scoring on the fast break. They play really good defense and score on the fast break, so the Celtics are gonna have to play really good defense, good fast break defense, which means just running back and get set to play defense. So I definitely think it's gonna be a very tough series. As far as the matchup goes, I think that our biggest matchup problem is gonna be Siakam because of his length and his quickness, and also he plays good defense as well. So I think the Celtics are gonna have to do a lot to counter Siakam's offense. I think Jaylen Brown is gonna have to play some good defense against him. I also think Jason Tatum is gonna play some good defense against him. But as we just saw in game 1, Brad Stevens threw a lot at him. It wasn't just those guys. He threw Ojale at him. He threw Brown, what's number 12? Grant Williams. He threw Grant Williams at him.
Smart was on him.
Yeah, Marcus Smart. So it's definitely gonna be a tough series for them. For him, when Brad Stevens mix it up that way. I also think there's gonna be a little bit of matchup between Van Fleet and Marcus Smart. And I think defensively, Marcus Smart is winning that matchup. Offensively, I think Van Fleet is obviously superior, but I think Marcus Smart has that presence to make his presence known and impact his game. Kyle Lowry versus Kemba Walker. I think both guys are good. Both guys, Aflazo, have similar playing style, and they both play defense. I do think Kyle Lowry plays a little bit better defense than Kemba Walker,
yeah.
than Kemba, but it's Aflazo is gonna be a push and pull. I think Kyle Lowry might have that, but he also has the ankle injury. Based on game 1, Kemba had the better game, so that might be what happens over the next 3, 4, 5 games that we have left, so we'll see. And then what I expect to see that I did not see in game one, I expected the Raptors to control the paint with Ibaka and Marc Gasol, and just they have the tall players. They have more length. I expected it to control the paint, but they did it. We had the Time Lord had a really good game in the paint first game.
Yep.
Tice didn't have a bad game either. He had 15 rebounds or something. Like they had a really good game in the paint. So I do expect the Raptors to come back and play better in game 2. They're that good of a team. They're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna lay down and let us run all over them. But that's what I think of the matchups. I think those teams are matched very tightly, very closely, and it's gonna be on who wants it more and who wants to play defense more. Like who's gonna run back, who's gonna switch. And based on game 1, if I was just basing on game 1, it looks like the Celtics will win because the Celtics switch on defense. They ran back on the fast break defense, and they played unbelievable offense. So Marcus Smart had a great game, but in order for us to win the way we won today, Marcus Smart will have to win. We'll have to have an offensive game, the same offensive game he had today, multiple games, which we know that he's not that guy to have like that consistent of an offensive game. So it's gonna fall on defense. Who plays the best defense? I do think the Celtics are gonna win. My prediction is really a 7-game series. But based on today, it might be less than 7 game. But as of right now, just watching one game, I still think Celtics in 7.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely brought up some good points. It's certainly going to be pretty competitive.
One last thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
The marquee player in this series for the Raptors is going to be Siakam. They're going to go as far as Siakam take them. For the Celtics, I think it's going to be... Get back to me for the Celtics. Let me think about that a little bit.
Yeah, no, but sure. I mean, this is set up to be a pretty good, competitive, playoff basketball kind of series. Good physical. Both teams playing, play pretty good defense as well. So this is, and going to be an actual series, regardless of what we saw today. I expect that, the series to be a lot more closer and competitive, throughout this 7-game series. There's certainly... I think the teams match up pretty well. But I think pretty much at each position, the Celtics still have the upper hand on the matchups in terms, particularly in terms of the positions. Excuse me. On the perimeter, Kemba Walker and Kyle Lowry. I think Kemba is the better player in that matchup. They're two good, veteran savvy kind of players that that are gritty and both play hard on both ends of the floor. But I would definitely give Kemba the edge on that because his ability to to score the ball and be able to. He's I feel like more of a factor, offensively than Kyle Lowry's more, defensive minded. But nonetheless, that's going to be a pretty good matchup throughout the series. We got JB and Van Fleet. Think that's another pretty good matchup, but I'd certainly give the edge to JB on that one. He's certainly emerged and as one of the up and coming stars in this league and has had a really good bubble to this point, and think that he's been been a good two-way player for us. I know Van Vliet's also a pretty good two-way player, and can play really good defense and also make big shots as well. But I think JB definitely has the advantage, since he's quicker and more athletic, and certainly can use that to his advantage. So, and then the next matchup would be, Siakam and JT, Jason Tatum. That's definitely, talk about the two best players of the series. I know that's probably the key matchup of this series. I think, in my opinion, they've certainly been, the two of the better players and better of the young players in the league for a little while. I think certainly, it's a close matchup, but I think that Tatum does have the edge in that matchup with his ability to score in multiple ways. I still think Siakam has some room to grow in his game, particularly offensively. I think he still needs to work on his his shot. Making it, it's kind of streaky and not as consistent as JT is. JT certainly been able to develop into pretty consistent and pretty good shooter. That's and guy that can make big shots and and be a reliable number one option. I think Siakam's getting close to that, but he's not quite there just yet. So that's certainly going to be a good matchup between those two, and I'm looking forward to seeing how those matchups turn out. But certainly the key marquee player in this series would have to be, probably say for the Celtics, it would be Jason Tatum. I think with his ability to not only score, but he also has to create for others and get guys open shots. And I think he did some of that today. He has to continue to do that throughout the rest of the series. And then for Toronto, I would probably say their marquee player would have to be I don't know. I think with Toronto, I'd probably say it has to be their bench, because that's the one thing with that they have the clear advantage, is that they have the better bench than us. So I think their bench has to dominate and really play well for them to have a chance in this series. I think if their bench doesn't play as well and isn't dominating like they should be, the Celtics should be able to win this series, since the Celtics have the advantage in in the starting five. So I think definitely the marquee part of the series for Toronto has to be their bench, and since they have one of the better benches in the league, so they have to be able to really dominate and take advantage of that matchup against the Celtics bench, which isn't as good, on that side. So yeah, we'll see how the series go. My prediction would be, I'll say Celtics in 6 for my prediction for this series. I think they'll when this will be a tough, hard fought series, and a challenging series for them, regardless of what had happened in Game 1. Because I expect Toronto to be much better in Game 2, but they'll definitely, we'll go through a lot of, battles, with them, and this will be a big test. But I believe that they'll be, ready for it, and they'll, be able to, beat the Raptors in 6 games, since they are the better team in this matchup.
I definitely think the Celtics do have the better team. But this is how I look at it. So I kind of like rank the players from like, number 1 through whatever. And that's how I have it. So for me in this series, I have Jason Tatum as the number 1 player. And then I have Siakam as the second best player in the series. And then I have Jaylen Brown. No. I have Kemba Walker coming in third, and then I have Jaylen Brown fourth. And then I have Kyle Lowry fifth. And then I throw in Smart in there sixth. And then Fred VanVleet comes in. And then we got Marc Gasol and then Serge Ibaka before Wanamaker comes in there.
Interesting.
Right, so I feel like
interesting comparison.
Yeah, so I feel like I have in the top 5. There's Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, and Jaylen Brown. Correct. Right, and then the top 10 we have Jason Tatum, Kemba, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart. So we do have 4 of like the top 10 guys on the roster. On our roster. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to like our starting 5, and I do believe that the Raptors do have the better bench, but at the same time in these playoffs, we're not going in deeper than like 7-8 guys. Well, for the Celtics, they do different things because they're more about like matchups and stuff like that. But for the most part, if the game was like in a really crunch time, you wouldn't see more than 7-8 guys coming off. You know what I mean? Going into the game, meaning would be the starting 5 plus Wanamaker, and then Kenner, or maybe
we didn't see Kenner today.
We didn't.
Yeah, he didn't play at all today.
No, he didn't because he's slower than the other guys.
Right.
And they're just gonna kill him.
And that's why they had
Robert Williams in there. So
Time Lord was in there and got a lot of run today.
And you saw what he did. He played Serge Ibaka pretty well. And the guys are confident with him out there. But I think
he was effective on offense too.
He was very effective. I think he was 6 for 6. So
efficient.
He's efficient. He gets the lobs. He's a shot blocker. So paint protector. You're not just gonna go in there. And this matchup is really a matchup of like transition teams. The Raptors do really good on the transition. That's how they get a lot of their points. In the third quarter when we saw them outscoring the Celtics, it's because they were out there running, getting to the transition, playing good D. But I think just our top lineup is just too much for them. I feel like Jaylen Brown guards Siakam very well. If you watched him the last couple of series, he hasn't been in he missed 2 of the games that we played over the season. Yeah. And then the other games he didn't do very well when he played against Jaylen Brown. And I think the way we play them, it's really troublesome for him because he got in foul trouble today. Yeah. Or had like 3 fouls in the first quarter or something like that.
Yep,
or
right.
At the start of the second quarter he had 3 fouls already. And had to be taken out of the game.
You're right. He had dismissed a good part of the first quarter and first half.
Right. And it's pretty much how it's been playing, for the last few games that we've played him. It seems like Brad Stevens knows like his matchups pretty well. And we play. I mean, Jaylen Brown, he's not a short guy. You know what I'm saying? He's a big guard and he's lengthy. So he can get into the airspace of Siakam and disrupt his shots, which has been happening a lot. And when he's taking a lot of fadeaways, that's not going to really help too much.
Siakam is longer though, so
Siakam's longer, but not that long. I feel like they exaggerate how long he is because we have long athletes. Jason Tatum's like 6'10". You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Jason Tatum.
You know, he's a long guy, and I feel like they make a more of a big deal about Siakam than they do Jason Tatum. But I don't think like it's like that outrageously like much more than other guys.
I thought you were comparing him to Jaylen Brown.
No. I'm just saying Jaylen Brown is a big guard, and Jaylen Brown can guard from 1 through 4. You know what I'm saying? Like effectively.
Right.
You know, so and as you can see, he's done a really good job against Siakam. Just getting into his airspace. And then we got some bodies like Ojale. We saw him in the game that can disrupt his stuff. You saw Grant Williams out there, getting a turn on him. So I feel like we have the guys to defend him. The Raptors are really going to have to rely on Van Vliet and Kyle Lowry making their shots in the starting lineup. And then they got to rely on their bench. And it didn't look like their bench was doing much today.
Other than Ibaka had a pretty good game.
Yeah, he had a pretty good game.
Him, no one else was really a factor.
That's right. Bench. Their bench really has to step up and, kind of like they were stepping up in the Nets games to actually beat the Celtics. Other than that, I just feel like the Celtics have the better offense. They score more. And, the Raptors have the better defense, but not by much. I think the Celtics are like number 5 or something like that, opposed to number 4, as opposed to the Raptors that are,
second,
number 2. And, if you look at the numbers, it's not that big of a drop off. It's just like by mere percentages. So, and the Raptors have been playing together, for 2 years now? Our team was just like assembled, and I feel like if our team had the same amount of time as they did, like our defensive level would be even better. But I think even though that we don't have Gordon Hayward, I still feel like we have all the matchups in this thing to beat them. I think my marquee player for this game, for this series period, I think it's going to be Marcus Smart. Just because I feel like, with Gordon Hayward out, if he's hitting his shots, we're going to win the games. You know what I'm saying? Even when he doesn't hit his shots, he's still like affecting the game in other ways. But I feel like if Marcus hits his shots, like his open shots, which he's going to get a lot of, because they're going to have to crash in on Kemba, Jalen, and JT, we win. And this is exactly what happened in today's game. Every shot, he had 21 points, and we won pretty handedly. And if everybody else is doing what they're supposed to do, meaning like Brad Wanamaker, Robert Williams, they coming in, they're contributing what they're supposed to do, we win this pretty handedly. I feel like, to me, I think we can win, in 5 games, but I'm not gonna disrespect the defending champs. So I'm gonna say we can win this thing in 6 games.
6 games,
I feel like we can. If today's game has been any indication, I feel like we definitely can. I don't think there's gonna be like all of a sudden there's like this huge drop off with the Celtics that the Raptors are just gonna steamroll them. At the same time, I'm saying this, I'm thinking about the Bucks series last year too.
Right.
But I think we have a different team, a different mindset,
and we're not playing the Greek Freak.
Right. We're not playing the Greek Freak right now, but I just feel like the team as a whole has a different mindset, and they have like a different purpose, as opposed to like the last squad that went to the playoffs and was kind of more selfish and wasn't playing for each other. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're watching a game, you'll see guys putting their bodies on the line, grabbing the balls out of bound, wrestling for the ball.
Yeah.
You didn't see that in last year's playoffs. No. Not at all. So I just feel like it's a different team overall, and the fact that they did that again, like you were saying, I feel like they do have that belief now. Like, regardless of them being the defending champs, we can play with these guys, and we've been busting their ass. So, even though they did a great job on Jason Tatum to begin the game, it's like he still figured them out at the end and ended up with 21 points. So it's like, what else can you do to actually limit our team from? Even when Jason Tatum was having a bad game, we were up like 14 points. So it's like, I think the team is comfortable playing them. They are slightly bigger than us, but that's like in their starting lineup with Marc Gasol. I don't think I don't think Serge Ibaka provides like that much more size for them than we have. You know, we do have big bodies too as well.
Better pin player though, better shot blocker, better shoot threes.
Ibaka, yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. But I'm talking about like in the interior, and I feel like inside we handled our own today. You know,
Surprisingly, I was very surprised by that. But
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
if we can keep doing that, then we'll definitely win the series.
yeah, and I feel like if we keep getting hot starts and not waiting to get back in the game, like sometimes that we do, we'll be fine, man.
Or not give up leads.
Yes, yes. You know, I think the closest they got at the end there was like 9 points. So, you know, but that's what I see for the game. Well, this series period. The East as a whole, you know, the first round was not the best, you know, because all the teams did what they were supposed to do. But I think we'll definitely see some fireworks in the second round. But let's move on into the Western Conference. Look at the playoff picture. So OKC versus Houston at the moment, they're 3-2, with Houston winning their last game. So we'll see if that goes into a 7-game series. And the winner of that will be playing the Lakers, who actually just took out the Portland Trailblazers last night. They took that series 4-1. Clippers and Mavs are 3-2, and you know, so Clippers is leading the series with 3 games.
Yep.
And you know, hopefully that game goes into a 7-game series, because that's actually one of the matchups I thought would go on to a 7-game series. So we'll see how that works. And then another series, which a surprising one, Jazz versus Nuggets. Jazz lead 3-2 right now. But they've been playing really well, and they got another game today, so they're looking to close it out. But we'll see what happens with those.
Yeah, by the time you get this podcast, both of those series might be over. Actually,
yeah. If you know, memory serves us correct, Jazz will have taken the Nuggets, all right, for all their money, in this playoff. So we'll see what happens with that. Another NBA news: Giannis Antetokounmpo named Defensive Player of the Year, which how you guys feel about the way they roll out these things? Because, like, we got, you know, Defensive Player of the Year, and then we got Coach of the Year. What came out first? Was that Coach of the Year and then Defensive Player of the Year? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure next they're going to do, like, the Sixth Man of the Year or some shit.
And then maybe
and then they're going to do MVP. Why do they do that?
I don't know. How do they usually do it?
I feel like they do that every time. It's like, yo, you guys have the results already. Just tell us. I mean, in my opinion, like, is there like a format to that?
Well, usually they actually have an award show, which is actually they do to announce.
What's that? The ESPYs?
No, it's like the NBA awards. And
the NBA awards.
Doing that a couple years ago.
Oh yeah.
Where they announce each winner from the award, the regular season award, that and then which player that is nominated that the award goes to. But obviously due to the pandemic, they obviously can't do that, and also the season's still going on because they usually do it after the finals during the off season. But since the season is still occurring and we're still in the playoffs, they have to do it in a different format and in a different way. But like, I see your point, John, when you said, oh, like, why don't you guys already have all the results in? Or because remember when they said that the final 8 regular season games in the bubble weren't going to have any impact on what the regular season awards are going to be, like the 60-something games that they played in the regular season before the suspension were going to determine that. So if that's the case, then why don't they just...
What are we waiting for?
All of them, at once, since they already have the finalists have been announced, and I'm sure they've already given the votes as to which of those finalists, is going to be winning the award. So I don't know honestly what the holdup is, but I guess they want to do it the
suspense.
Exactly right. The suspense, and one award at a time, a different award every week as the playoffs go along. I guess right to add that to add that suspense and to make the fans more, more anxious. I guess. I mean, that's the only, way and that I'm seeing it and why I would think the NBA would do it like that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just wish, we all know Giannis is the MVP right now, right? Like, I don't think there's any way LeBron comes in and takes it based on everything we've seen this year and, all the chatter everywhere. And it looks like the people that are going to vote have publicly said they're going to vote Giannis. So it's like, come on. I mean, majority of them have said they're going to pick Giannis. So
right, exactly.
I feel like, I don't know, it's weird.
But do you guys have any comment on the Defensive Player of the Year, though? I know Barry had a comment about that. Try and make it quick.
Yeah, I mean,
John.
Defensive Player of the Year, I do feel like Giannis is not a bad guy to give it to. Rudy Gobert is not a bad guy to give it to. But I think what Barry's going to talk about is Marcus Smart not being mentioned in the top 3, which I feel like is criminal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's exactly what I was going to say. You're absolutely right, John. It's crazy because he didn't get any first place votes.
Yeah.
For Defensive Player of the Year. And then tell me why I also heard one thing this week about the Defensive Player of the Year. Even Andre Drummond got a first place vote for Defensive Player of the Year. Andre Drummond got a first place vote for Defensive Player of the Year, but Marcus Smart got no first place votes for Defensive Player of the Year.
First of all,
disrespect.
First of all, I do like Andre Drummond.
Right. I'm not trying to say he's a bum or he's trash.
No, I think for him, it comes down to rebounds and block shots and stuff. Because he'll get 20 rebounds a game.
20 points, 20 rebounds.
Yeah, he's like one of those guys that's been doing that repeatedly
he's like
the last couple seasons.
Walking double.
Yeah.
Right.
No, so I get it. I see him getting some defensive votes, but it's like there's no guy in the NBA that's going to guard all 5 positions successfully.
Exactly.
I don't think the last guard to win was Gary Payton, which is criminal because that was so long ago. You know what I'm saying?
Almost 20
Gary
years
Payton,
ago.
Right. He's been retired so long ago, and it's like, so you mean to tell me there's no guard that's able to impact the game? As we can see, Marcus Smart impacts the game every single night he's out there. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? If you were watching the last series, one of those craziest plays that he made, intercepted the ball mid-air, makes the pass, you know what I mean? Guys goes down and, they ask him, is there something that you see? He's like, it's just what I do. You know what I mean? I'm just out there doing what I do. So, I don't think there's anybody else in the league that makes the kind of plays that Marcus Smart makes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Celtics fan. I watch a lot of basketball, and I don't see anybody as instinctive, and I don't see anybody, charge their team up more than Marcus Smart does with one defensive play. So him not getting a nod at all for first place is criminal to me.
It's asinine. Absolutely.
And I think the NBA players themselves will tell you that shit themselves. You know what I'm saying? And it sucks that the NBA players don't pick who they feel like is the best defensive player of the year.
Right. And you notice how the one last thing about the defensive player of the year, that particular position, it always goes to either a wing over 40, either a 4 or a big man, or someone who plays the 5. They never should. That's what I know. John was just saying that. My bad. So that's terrible that they don't ever show the guards any love. Yeah, sorry to repeat that. That was just going through my mind right now.
That's a fact,
I think they need, the NBA needs to do a better job of at least having one finalist be a guard and in considering guards as really good defensive players that impact the game, throughout the whole season. So that they need to definitely do, give more respect and more consideration to all positions, being good defensive players, not people that are bigger.
It's either that or give out two awards. You know what I'm saying? Give out two positions for these awards, because I feel like there's definitely, look at a Ben Simmons, you know what I mean? If he's not as tall as he is, he's not even gonna get mentioned in that in that category. You know what I mean? And I feel like he got mentioned in there because he's 6'10" and he's able to guard multiple positions. It's like that's what Marcus Smart does. So why is he not getting that respect? Which is weird. But enough on that.
Marcus Smart was 6'10", he'd be winning this award every year.
Every year for sure.
Every single year.
Yeah, man. Other NBA news: the Pacers fired. I didn't really like this move really, because I feel like the Pacers deal with a lot. They've dealt with a lot the last few years when it comes to like injuries and not having the right players and stuff like that. But the Pacers fired coach Nate McMillan. And in the 4 years that he coached the team, he had a 183 and 136 record. He was 3-16 in the playoffs, which when you hear that number 3-16, it seems like pretty bad. But I feel like that's a team that's always in it, that's always competitive. Other than being like a player away, I feel like the Pacers always have something good going. Yeah, or they like the number 4 seed or something.
They always have some sort of injury.
Yes.
Yeah, they were the number 4 seed.
Yeah, and and then Sabonis got injured, which
right.
I feel like that's not on the coach's shoulder, you know what I mean? Like Nate McMillan, there's worse coaches in this league, you know what I mean? Like I feel like he's better than Brett Brown, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yes.
So I don't know, I didn't really agree on that, but that's the news on that. And another NBA news, NBA draft. It happened. We didn't discuss it in the last couple podcasts. We should have. But, the draft order has been set, and Minnesota Timberwolves ended up with the number 1 pick. And then the top 15 goes Timberwolves, Golden State, Charlotte, Chicago, Cleveland, Atlanta, Detroit, New York, Washington, Phoenix, San Antonio, Sacramento, New Orleans, Boston, and then Orlando Magics. So that's the top 15. And if you know anything about the NBA draft, like they don't really care too much about anything other than the top 15. Other than that, they act like these guys are not going to contribute at all, which is wrong, because there's guys that have come out late in the round, like what's his name, Green from the Warriors, Draymond Green from the Warriors, Van Vliet.
Was Giannis 15 or something?
Giannis was up there too.
He was.
And I can say, the Celtics passed on the pick fucking Kelly Olynyk. We'll never forget that shit.
Yeah, I know.
As the one time, well, not the one time, but one of the big fuck ups from Danny Ainge right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
sure.
I think he was busy looking for the next Larry Bird when Kelly Olynyk was fucking coming up.
At least he didn't do it another time with Jason Tatum.
Ooh,
he
redeemed himself there.
Yes,
you know what I mean? He's like,
God he, you know what I'm saying, right? Got that one back and drafted JT instead of drafting Markelle Fultz. So we'll give him that. He's at least hit on a couple of
he's hit on Jaylen Brown.
That's true, and Marcus Smart.
He hit on Marcus Smart. He hit on Terry Rose. Lastly, with the NBA, Patrick Beverley, who has become like a thorn in a lot of the guys in the NBA sides. This week news came out that he kind of like disrespected one of the NBA association members. They had a meeting, obviously, because of the situation that's happening with about Jacob Blake, and in the meeting he had an outburst and basically told the representative that he paid for her salary, and the players did not.
She's the executive director of the NBA Players Association.
Right. What's her name?
Michelle Roberts,
who's actually very respected in the league, and so other players in the league like Chris Paul, and basically the leaders in the NBA Players Association, they didn't like that, so they had him leave the room. But it just goes to show you that Beverly has definitely displayed some immaturity when it comes to like the Dame Lillard situation, him doing all that crap on the sideline, and he's like, bro, you're not relevant. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not a star on your team, brother. You're a role player. So like, know your role and just like relax. And it's surprising because he's like a guy that's had to scrap, you know, his
And
pretty
work
much
for everything
his
he's
whole
got.
NBA life.
Right.
So it's like, why would you, you know, like,
To me, I think it's another sign of black men disrespecting a black woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
if
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You have such a powerful black woman in a position of power, advocating for you, and the way you go about it is telling her that you pay for her salary, which is true, but that's not you don't ever say that. You don't
Exactly.
ever come out your mouth and make such statement.
Yeah.
Right.
And she's here advocating for you.
that's how we talk to
So why
the
you-
police.
Get back.
and
Exactly.
why you going at her for? So
Right.
and anyways, I don't want to talk about this. For
Right,
much
right,
longer.
right.
Yeah.
Actually, that's it for the NBA. We're gonna move on into some of the other leagues, like the NFL right now. So with the NFL, they definitely followed suit with the NBA and the other leagues, and you know, they're trying to find ways to make change, man. You know, several teams canceled their practices to have meetings to discuss social justice issues. You know, teams like the LA Chargers, Minnesota Vikings, even Pittsburgh Steelers, you know what I mean, they did something. And, you know, as well as the Patriots, too. So the NFL is definitely watching what's going on and reacting to it as well. And you know what? I feel like this year alone, the NFL has come a long way.
I'm still disgusted by the
No.
NFL
Yes.
because look at what's happening in all the other leagues today and how they mistreated Kaepernick.
Yeah.
I still think they're late to the game. They still have to catch up.
Yeah.
I'm not even giving them credit right now. They what they're seeing right now is an embarrassment. Like, look at how the NBA is acting. Look at how many players are taking a knee. Look at all the coaches taking knees. Look at all the owners coming out supporting the players, and then when it was their turn to do that, they could have been in the spotlight to be the league. They had the opportunity to be the league that fought for social justice, and instead
They whiffed.
they pushed it down and they shut it down, and it's an embarrassment. They still have a lot of way to go.
I agree, but I feel like this year, you know, period, you know, with everything that's happened,
They have to.
They're changing their stance. I mean, yeah, for sure, they have to.
About damn
you know,
time. Exactly.
And you know, what's his name? Roger Goodell going out talking about, you know, they regret not listening to Kaepernick and all that bullshit.
I bet you do. I
Which
bet
is
you
what
do
it
now.
is. Yeah, exactly. You know, he did say they wish they actually they got to sit down and all that stuff. But you know, they definitely came out and did their things, you know, as well as like Baltimore Ravens. They did a lot around this stuff too. But you know, the first game is in what, like 15 days?
Yeah.
So the
Less than
NFL is back is in less than 15 days. So I think 14 days now. So
Yeah,
we'll be
September 10th,
seeing
so-
some games. Other than teams in their training camps, you know, practicing and getting ready for the season, there hasn't been much going on. You know, Jadeveon Clowney is still out there, still hasn't signed. So we'll see what happened with that. But I wanted to get into the Patriots, who actually they were on their third week of practice. And they had their first in-stadium practice.
Yep.
N'Keal Harry came back, and he's at training camp. You know, he's had an up and down camp. But, you know, as a first-round pick, they're going to give him as much time as they can. You know, I'm also hearing they're starting to use him to their strength. You know, they're trying to tell him, yo, you can't be Edelman. You got to be your own guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that I heard that's being sparked by Cam Newton actually getting into his ear like,
Yeah.
yo, you got to use your body to do what you do. You can't do what Julian Edelman does, you know, quick snap off the routes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, just do what you do. You know, you're the big guy. Be the big man. You know, Sony Michel came off. Is he? I don't think he was off the PUP list.
He was.
Is he actually
Yeah.
off now?
Yeah, he's off now. And he's back
Okay,
practicing.
because when he
Yeah.
came back, he wasn't off of it. He was just back at practice.
Nah, he's
But
so
no,
now
he's officially off.
he's officially off now. Gilmore, who was out for some personal stuff, he came back
Yeah.
and, you know, causing ruckus as much as possible. And like we talked about in last week's episode, we talked about Cam Newton needing to be, well, not Cam Newton, the Patriots needing to name a starter like right away, just because, you know, Jarrett Stidham is hurt, and, you know, for the betterment of the team, they needed to get a clear-cut starter. And, you know, news out of the camp this week is that Cam Newton is running away with with the situation at the starting quarterback role. And like we said last week, he started to take on more reps.
Yep.
So now he's taking most of the reps in all of the practices, and the other guys are divvying up whatever is left when he's tired, which is what's supposed to happen. You know, you got to get him ready for the season, especially with one of the guys that's fighting for a spot is injured, you know, and can't play to his fullest ability right now. So he's taking the reps right now, and he did have a news conference this week.
Yep.
Where he spoke to the media, I think probably for like the second time now.
Yep.
Where, you know, he talked about, you know, they asked him about being the starter. And, you know, they asked him about it, like, did he think he got the job and stuff like that. And what he said was, every day is a work for me. That label is not important to me right now. There's so much that I need to get better at, so much that I need to learn, so much that I need to get comfortable with throughout this process. That's the last thing I'm pretty much worried about, knowing that there are certain things when I come to the line of scrimmage and it's just not as firing mentally as I want it to be, rather than other plays that may be called. You know, so basically he's saying, you know, he doesn't have the whole playbook down as he'd like, but at the same time he's making stride. He's not as comfortable as he wants, which is a big deal when it comes to a quarterback, because you want them to know exactly what they want. And you know what?
Yeah, but that comes with practice.
That comes with that, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. You know, if you're not out there, even if you're practicing, you're memorizing the playbook. Even if you know all the plays, it doesn't work if you're not out there with the other guys executing it. You know, like Belichick likes to say, do your job. Yeah. If everybody's not doing their jobs, even if you know what's supposed to happen, it's not going to work. You know, so he has to get on the same page. And I don't know, for the most part, it sounds like he's doing a good job getting on the same page as some of the other guys like Julian Edelman. He's pulling guys aside to work out with them. They had an in-between team scrimmage where pretty much Cam Newton had one team and Brian Hoyer and Jared Stidham shared the second team. Yep. And on Cam Newton's team, it was pretty much the starters. Yep. You know, and then on Jared Stidham's team, it's like people that could be starters, but that are on the team, but are role players. So if that doesn't tell you anything, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cam Newton is designated to be the starter, but I still think he has to work hard for it. I still think he has to compete, get comfortable in the pocket, get comfortable at the line of scrimmage, calling the plays. I personally think he has a lot of work to do. I don't think the starting job is gonna be headed to him quite yet. I think even this week, when you were hearing news out of training camp. He was not as effective as it was the previous week. And he definitely got the first reps, but he hasn't been just absolutely amazing. You know what I mean? He hasn't like grabbed the job by its neck and it's like it's mine. So I think he's still far away from that, and he still has to keep working and get to that.
Okay. All right. I mean, we'll see what happens, but the league starts in 2 weeks, and I'm fucking excited, bro.
Yeah, it's true.
Straight up,
Pat's
man.
First game's in 2 weeks from today.
I want to see somebody get hit, man. Straight up, you know.
No, for sure.
And you know, I'm hoping that Corona doesn't affect the league as much as it's affecting other leagues. But I'm definitely excited and ready for some football.
Well,
and
no doubt, man. I'm probably can't wait for the September 13th against the Miami Dolphins. That's their season opener. So I'm excited and looking forward to that. Glad football is coming back and right around the corner. So
yeah, man.
Yeah, no, it's definitely that time of the year. My favorite time of the year.
Yeah, facts. And you know, with that said, we're talking about the NFL, and like we said, there's not much news to be reporting other than the fact that teams are getting ready for the season, and you know, we're pretty close. But we did get a question this week. Was it from Adrian Meck?
Yes.
And the question was, what are your top 5 NFL stadiums in terms of fan experience and atmosphere? And you know, as a person that I haven't been to too many NFL stadiums, so I don't know what your experiences are. But I'm gonna actually ask Barry to go first because I know you've gotten to go to a few stadiums yourself. So I do have a list for myself, but I want to hear in terms of your experience. What are your top 5?
I see. I'm glad that you acknowledge that I've gone to quite a few games in stadiums, but nonetheless, Adrian, my guy, appreciate the question. Thanks for sending us the question of the week and being a part of the podcast. We appreciate your support. Then, in this no particular order, my top 5 stadiums would be, I'll start with Gillette.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go to New Era Field. That's the Buffalo Bills Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll probably say the Seahawks Stadium.
Yeah. Okay.
Kansas City. The Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
The Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah.
And last but not least, I'll go with Lambeau Field, the Green Bay Packers Stadium.
Yeah. Old school.
Yeah.
History.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Right.
I like it.
For sure. I think those are that would be my top 5, football stadiums in terms of experience and, an atmosphere. Even though I've only been to a couple of those stadiums. Went to MetLife, but I didn't really like MetLife. So
yeah, it's top fan experience. So that's your experience.
Right. So I would say those would definitely be, I think, the top stadiums in the league in the NFL.
Okay.
For me, I mean, I've only been to one stadium, and that's Gillette Stadium. I look forward to going to all 32 stadium at some point. But as far as I can tell from what I've heard over the years on TV and other fans talking about it, mines are also in no particular order. I have Heinz Field. I have the Seattle Seahawks Stadium. I have Lambeau Field as well. I think Kansas City, just like Barry said.
Arrowhead Stadium. Yeah.
And then my last one would be. My last stadium will be the Superdome.
The Superdome. What's the Superdome?
New Orleans.
Yeah, that's it. I'm like, I know that stadium. For me, I have not gone to too many stadiums. I've definitely gone to more like basketball stadiums than NFL stadiums. But for me, I really do love going down to Gillette. Like, I feel like the fan experience over there is really good. Pre-game, they got a lot of stuff going on out there. In the parking lots. Maybe that's not pregame. That's like the preseason when I usually go over there. But it's a nice place. Patriots place is like freaking beautiful. You can go out there, go have a nice dinner right outside of the stadiums, and then go into the games. So I feel like that. I don't know. I'm not gonna say it in a particular order, just like you guys, because I haven't been to like the other places. So in no particular order. So Gillette Stadium's definitely up there. Is gonna be part of the 5 right there. And then other places I would love to go see is the AT&T Stadium, which is the Cowboys Stadium.
I've actually been to that stadium.
Yeah, that thing is huge, and I want to see that big ass screen they got over there.
Oh yeah, dude, that stadium.
That screen,
oh my God!
I feel like that screen's bigger than my house.
Have you been there for a game though?
No, I went there for the draft a couple of years ago.
That's what I mean.
So I actually never been there for a game. I actually went there a couple times. I went there for another event as well, I think the year before. But no, I've actually never been to like a Cowboys game there. But, went for a pretty big event in the NFL draft. So I know I did get a chance to see that stadium. And yeah, when they say everything's bigger in Texas, they're just not saying that just to say that. Like, that's facts. Like, everything is bigger in Texas, particularly when it comes to that stadium. And that Tron that you're talking about, that big screen, it takes up like half the field.
Yeah.
It's to say the leagues. That's how that thing is ginormous. Like, my goodness, I've never seen something big screen as big as that before in my life. Like, that was one of the impressive stadiums that I really have been to, I would say.
Okay, yep. So that I got Gillette and then AT&T, and then I want to do the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Falcons, which is Falcons.
Oh, Falcons.
Yeah, Mercedes-Benz.
That one too.
Yeah,
actually.
Which I want to go there just because the Patriots came back 28-3. So I wanna go to that site where the massacre happened.
Yeah, I was actually there a couple years ago, but week of the Super Bowl. Yeah. So when we played the Rams over there. And
then I want to go to Pittsburgh. Cause I want to wave that terrible towel. You know what I mean? Pittsburgh, and then
wave those.
I don't, but it's like I feel like fan experience, like we're talking about. That's like everybody's doing the same thing. That's like fan experience right there, in my opinion. And then I want to go to the Red Sea with Arrowhead. Yep. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I just like that, and then the Seahawks is the 12th man. They're pretty close too. So the stadiums they talk about the most. That's what I like. But Adrian Meck, man, we appreciate the question. We appreciate you being part of the show and taking your time to actually do that. So Adrian, shout outs to you, man.
Adrian, send us your top 5
facts.
Yes, hit me up and DM me, Adrian. Send me that top 5 stadiums for sure, man. I'd love to hear your top 5, but definitely big shout outs to you, my guy. I appreciate you for sending us the question and being part of the show. So
anybody else that wants to be part of the show, send us questions.
Yeah, send us questions, man.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna be it for us for the NHL. I mean, not the NHL. The NHL is coming on that, but that was for the NFL. So on to the NHL we go, and right now they're in the playoffs right now, and that's what we're going to talk about. So Bruins versus the Lightning in the second round. So right now the Lightning are leading 3-1, and they've been winning pretty convincingly the last couple of games. I've been watching the games, and I feel like I have my thoughts on the games. But like, what do you guys think is wrong with the Bruins right now?
Defense. No defense whatsoever. Halak is not the greatest goalie. Tuukka is not there, obviously, but the defense haven't helped either. In game 2, Cassidy decided to put seven defensemen. Decided to put 7 defensemen, and that caused the team. It was one of the worst losses ever. It was 7. Was it 7-1? 7-1. Yeah. It was one of the worst losses ever. Yeah. They put the rookie the rookie goalie out there, and he was flopping on his belly. You know what I mean?
For real,
it was a bad game.
He was green, man.
It was a bad game, and last game we lost 3-1. That was a bad game as well. Game 4, I mean. And I think it's over. I think it's over for the Bruins, man. I think they obviously miss Tuukka. I think having Tuukka in the goal definitely give them a little bit of more confidence than they have now, and they definitely miss him. It's apparent.
Yeah, to not only to go along with what you said as far as the defense being an issue, the offense has been an issue too.
Yeah,
they haven't been scoring goals or creating, lots of scoring chances, and really being aggressive offensively, and having the puck control and the control in their own zone, and actually get putting pucks in the back of the net. And you figured that, since their goaltending isn't really as good, and the Lightning have an advantage in that as part of this series, you would think that they would need to step up and pick it up on the offensive end of the ice, and to this point, they haven't done that at all. It's it's been pretty bad. What we've seen, I think that's even an understatement. This team's just a mess right now, and they look like they're on their way out of the bubble, and it will be most likely their last game coming up tomorrow night. Monday night, excuse me. In Game 5, I don't see how they can get back in this series. They look like a team that's pretty much defeated, and they didn't really bounce back in Game 4, because I thought there would at least be. I expected more of a sense of urgency and more resiliency from them in Game 4, and I was surprised that we didn't really see that, and that they came out flat once again. And remember, we said last week that this team in particular can't afford to get behind in games and and play catch up and try to get
like they did in the first
exactly
round.
With the Hurricanes. This isn't the Toronto Hurricanes, or not Toronto Hurricanes, the Carolina Hurricanes. Excuse me, that you're playing this round. This is a legitimate Stanley Cup contending team, and the Tampa Bay Lightning that are very good, and they are a very complete team, and that's what we've seen. The Lightning have dominated, particularly the last 3 games, and both ends of the ice. They've to put the pressure on the goalies and the Bruins defense, in which they've clearly not been able to handle at all. Whether it be Halat or that rookie goalie that they put in, and I feel bad for him that they put him in that spot. I feel like they set him up to fail. Yeah. Right? They put him in a tough spot. Where what did you expect to happen? A rookie in his first both Stanley Cup playoff game against a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, that's unfortunate situation for him to be in. So, and the way that the defense has been playing doesn't help either. Particularly Chara looks bad. Like,
Chara's old, man.
Chara, they'll give it love you, Big Z. I appreciate everything you've done in your career, particularly with the Bruins and stuff. But I think it's time that he needs to retire and hang it up, because they've.
He's looking old.
Right. He's looking old, and the Lightning had exposed him in this series. They've exposed the defense, but particularly him. He just hasn't been. It's been a horrible and awful matchup for him. Like, he just looks like he shouldn't be out there. So, I mean, they obviously do miss Tuukka. When I see the questioning, how bad do the Bruins miss Tuukka, or how much do they miss Tuukka? I mean, it's crystal clear that they miss having a goaltender like that behind our net. You can say what you want about Tuukka, but I mean, he's an elite goaltender for a reason, and he's a finalist for the best goaltender trophy this year. He was one of the finalists for a reason. I mean, he's been one of the better goaltenders in this league for quite a while.
A long time.
And I think that now, Bruins fans are starting to realize and starting to, really, they're starting to understand and, like, know that this guy's been underappreciated pretty much his whole career, and that when you don't have a guy like that out there behind in front of the net, it really is a significant loss and a huge hole on your team that you can really replace, particularly if you don't have a really good backup that can be able to get the job done. And Halat's all right, but he just hasn't been able to, really play well in this series, and the Lightning have taken full advantage of that. So it's been unfortunate for the Bruins that they've, and disastrous that their season's gonna end on this note. But we should have saw this coming when when this series was going to, be taking place and happening.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. Now, like Vlad said, I definitely think it comes back down to the defensive effort as a whole, and then one of our best defensive guys is being exposed out there, like Barry is saying. But like I said last podcast we had when we talked about the Bruins, and I said we asked a question about can Halak carry the team to the Stanley Cup, and I said, if we're gonna rely on Halak, we're not going anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And obviously this is what's happening. I just don't think he can carry us. He does good in spurts, man. He's a career backup for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, he does good in spurts, but like, you're not gonna ask him to win you games. He's not gonna win you games. Like I said, he'll have some really good stretches. A game here, a game there, but he's not gonna string all these things together like Tuca could. And it's definitely a big blow to the Bruins that Tuca had to leave the bubble, man. And I think a lot of people were kidding themselves with, hey, we could still do it and stuff like that. Bruins are good, man. They've been one of the best teams in the league this whole year. But without the goalie, a top-notch goalie, you're not going anywhere. And as you can see, the playoffs is about goalies. Your goaltender has to go on a hot streak where he's stopping 35 shots a freaking game. You know what I'm saying? At least, for you to actually win, 30 to 35 shots a game for you to win the Stanley Cup. For you to make it into the next rounds, you got to make more saves than not, and hey, I think the Lightning are definitely confident, scoring 7 points on us. Already had a goalie switch and all that stuff. It kind of reminded me of some of our playoffs runs in the past, where the other team will throw in a different goalie in there and then end up getting smacked by us. I'm thinking about Washington. That happened to them one time against us, and their goalie wasn't up to par, and we just took it from them. But it's just not much to say about it, man.
Right, that's a good point, John. And it's hard to, once you do make that change, even if you go back to that goalie, it's hard to get momentum back into the series and actually be able to win the series, because that pretty much kind of shows that, in a sense, you're waving the white flag. But for sure. So no, that's definitely not a good sign whenever a team has to do that, make a goalie change, and it's in the middle of a series. More times than not, they usually end up on the losing end of that series.
Word. But with that said, what do you guys think is next for the Bruins? Like, I mean, definitely they could come back and win this series. Don't think that's happening because they're 3-1 right now. A miracle has to happen. But so I just want to look into the future a little bit. Like, what is next for the Bruins in your opinion?
Get rid of Tuca. Get rid of Char. Just all the aging players. I think it. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be a rebuilding year, but I think a lot has to change. I think Tuca is too expensive, and he hasn't really delivered on his potential. And I think we are aging defensively, and yeah, I mean, I'm not a big hockey guy, so I don't know exactly where they would go, but I do think we need to get younger and get a goalie that doesn't cost as much, but that we can either
rely on.
Not only rely on, but maybe we can train him to be a good goalie, or I don't know.
Like develop him.
Develop him, yeah.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, Vlad. what's next for the Bruins? I mean, I think they're going to have to be able to get more goal scoring, particularly from the other lines, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but they depend on that top line a lot with Marchand, Pastrnak, and Bergeron.
Yeah.
And it's like if that top line isn't producing and playing well, they think they call that the perfection line.
Yep.
Something like that. If they're not playing at their best and on a high level, then that usually means the Bruins aren't gonna win and aren't gonna play well, and the rest of the team isn't gonna be playing at a high level. So I think they're gonna, like I say, need to get younger. They do have some good young talent, but I'd like to see more mixed in, with on the other lines. I think that they're gonna obviously gonna have to consider making a goalie change, since Tuukka's in his last deal next year, his last deal of his contract, and he's an unrestricted free agent after that. So they're gonna have to really give a good amount of thought and look deeply into that situation as far as what they want to do, with Tuukka, and if they do decide to move him, how can they get another goaltender in there that can be able to, play well in front of the net. And then you're right, they're going to also have to get at least, some defensemen. I like Charlie McAvoy. He's a, really good, young defenseman. I also like Torrey Krug as well. But I think they, like you said, they're going to at least need to get one or two more defensemen on there that can strengthen that defense and add some more depth to that unit, because you're seeing that it's pretty evident and crystal clear that, that's one of the weakest, spots and areas of this team. So they definitely have some work to do and got their work cut out for them, in the off season, as far as what they're going to need to do in order to make the Bruins a Stanley Cup team and a better team than the Lightning, because the Lightning had their number for the last several years. This will be the second time in 3 years that they've going to lose to the Lightning in the playoffs. So they're going to need to do something different and bring some talent in there that can be able to help them you be a better team and be able to get over the hump and pass the Lightning in the playoffs. Because if they don't do anything, this is going to be the same issue moving forward if they run into the Lightning, because the Lightning aren't going anywhere.
Facts.
They're going to be a really good team for the Wild and for the foreseeable future. So the Bruins definitely have some work to do, as we've seen in this series, if they want to be as good of a team as the Lightning and a Stanley Cup contender in the years to come.
Yeah, that's a fact, man. And I don't know. I don't have too much more to add to that. I think Barry's pretty good with the pulse of the team, and pretty much he watches. He stays up to date. So I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm gonna add something to that other than the fact that what Vlad said. We need to get younger, man. That's all I know. Like, I love Chara, but I don't want to see him out there again, man. What is he gonna be, like 45 next year or something like that? 44. It's like he wants to be what, a Jaromir Jagr or whatever.
Something like that.
Something like that, but it's like,
yeah, exactly right.
The position you play doesn't allow you to be like that old and still, because you got to bang, man, and you got to be able to stay in front of people. Got to be able to cut, pretty well on the ice, and with that big of a frame, and what he has to do to get around there. What is dude's like 6'9" or something like that? 6'7". Yo,
6'9", 6'10".
He's huge. You know what I'm saying? So, I just think they definitely need to get younger. They need to get younger on defense, and they need to get some bigger guys. Torrey Krug and Charlie Mack. They're pretty good, but they're pretty small too. You know what I'm saying?
Undersized.
They're pretty undersized. So
Yep.
I want to see some big guys going in. You know, like a George Thorne or something. Not him, because obviously he's old too. But somebody in the mold of him. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'd like to see. But you know, that's what we got for the NHL. As far as the playoff picture, it looks like this. So the Rangers are on top of the Flyers right now. The series is 2-1. Lightning versus Bruins is 3-1. Lightning. Vegas is leading Vancouver 2-1, and Dallas is leading Colorado 2-1. So the Bruins are the team that's the worst off right now. But let's move on into the MLB, where COVID-19 is still doing stuff out there, man. You know, Oakland A's actually today they had some positive tests.
Yeah, and they canceled their game because of that, right? The A's and Astros, yeah.
Yeah. So that's still going on. And you know, it's still early on in the baseball season. So I mean, but they only got 60 games, but some things that are happening with the Red Sox. Nathan Eovaldi is heading to the 10-day injured list. They actually traded. Well, actually, tomorrow's the deadline, the trade deadline, right? So they traded first baseman Mitch Moreland to the San Diego Padres for 2 minor league prospects, and you know, in return to that trade. So I believe it's Mitch Moreland has been traded to San Diego Padres as a outfielder. Jason Rosario and third baseman Hudson Potts are headed back to Boston. Padres had an upcoming roster crunch this winter, and Boston gets a couple of good prospects back. So apparently the prospects are good. I don't know too much about them because obviously they're prospects, and you know, when you're not prominent in the baseball league, you know, you got to be like a really big baseball purist to actually know who some of these guys are coming down the pipeline. So hopefully they are good prospects, because that's what we need to be working on right now as a team. We need to replenish the farm system, since you know, the last guy, general manager, was here. He pretty much depleted everything. Oh, yeah. You know, just so we could go to those championships, and he didn't think about the future much at all.
No continuity.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why he got fired. You know, because it came to a point where you didn't have any assets to trade anywhere to get anybody. You know, postseason runs where, you know, pretty much duct taping stuff together. We're duct taping pitchers together to get us through. So. I mean,
but at least it did come with the championship. So
right, it did.
I'll give him that.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I'd rather like postseason success than one championship and then you suck for the next 100 years.
That's for facts. No,
you know what I mean? We've been there already. We've done that, and we ain't trying to go back there.
We've seen that before. We don't want this to be reoccurring. Right.
Yeah, man. You know, so that's definitely not what we want to do. But other than that, in baseball, you know, with the Red Sox, there's not much more happening other than, you know, they continue plummeting down, you know, the records.
You know, they won a couple games.
They won a couple games, you know.
That's not really making much.
It's not doing anything.
Too little, too late for that.
Yeah. So if them trading Mitch Moreland doesn't tell you anything, then you're not watching. They're basically telling you that this season's a wash. You know, like we just gotta do what we gotta do, weather the storm, and you know, come back next season. Hopefully, they can sign some really good guys, since you know we lost a lot of big key free agents over the year. With Mookie Betts leaving and all that stuff. So hopefully we can get somebody else in here to, you know, give the clubhouse a spark. But that's going to be it for baseball, unless you had something else you had to say in there.
I mean, not really, other than, you know, it's crazy to think that, you know, the Red Sox went from World Series championship team a couple years ago in 2018 to, you know, rebuilding now, and to, you know, being in a situation where they've left with no choice but to blow the team up and just trade away the veterans and, you know, bring in new young talent. I mean, it's pretty evident, like you said, there's really no for reason for them to keep those guys, and no reason, why they, they shouldn't, be, blow up the team and get their, rebuild started, since they're just, I mean, they're the worst team in baseball pretty much, and they're not gonna get any better. And if you have to trade one of your best players in Mitch Moreland, who led in was at top in most of their statistical categories offensively. He was, among the team leaders. That pretty much is sign waving the white flag on the season. And not really, not really a good sign for the rest of the team. I think they're gonna continue to see them move more players within the next day, since the trading deadline's out tomorrow. So this certainly won't be the last trade and move that they make, as it should be. So they just need to, pretty much they need a new start. They need everything pretty much. So that's where I'm at with the Red Sox, and that's where they need to go moving forward, is get this rebuilding thing going and get these guys out of there and bring some young blood in there that can actually play.
Yeah, facts, man. We're gonna move into soccer, man. Vlad, what's going on with that?
Man, if you're a soccer player, if you're a soccer fan, there's one big news going on this week, is that Messi has told the Barcelona board that he wants to move away from the team after years of missing their marks and signing bad players, not going the system, keeping an aging squad, and just not supporting him the way he wanted to be supporting. They've promised him certain things and they didn't deliver on them. So he's fed up and he wants to leave. So I want to say that Messi's been with them since he was 12 years old. Starting. What? Yep, he's now 33, so he's been there 21 years. Studying with their youth system. He played in their youth system until he was 16. 16, yes, and I think at 16 he made his debut for Barcelona, and he's been on fire since. Since Messi started with Barcelona, they've won more trophies than anybody in Spain. They've been amazing. So now he wants to leave. The fans of Barcelona are suffering. The fans everywhere else are hoping their team sign Messi. If Messi leaves Barcelona, it's gonna be one of the biggest transfers ever that we've ever seen. And football face is just gonna look different. Like, you cannot. It's one of those things you can't even picture Messi in without a Barcelona shirt.
Yeah,
I know I can't. That's unreal. That he's really gonna be in another jersey and playing for another team than Barcelona. That I would have never thought I'd come to see the day where that would be happening. It's, in a sense, kind of like Tom Brady leaving the Patriots. In that sense, I feel like it's a little bit similar to that. Like, it's just hard to visualize and imagine a guy that's been with the team so long and, pretty much his whole career and his whole, in a good part of his life, just, leave and, go play for another team. It's, hard for me to picture that right now. And when that happens, I'm going to have a hard time seeing that, as I'm sure all the rest of the soccer fans are. That's so surreal that that's really happening. I know it kind of just hit me that he's really leaving, because I briefly heard about the news and, and him leaving Barcelona. But, like, now that you mention it, I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, yeah, he's really leaving Barcelona. Like, this is real. Like, it's about to happen. It's pretty wild and insane that he's not going to be there.
Yeah, Barry. So it's real, but nothing it's set in stone yet. In order for a team to get Messi, they have to pay Barcelona $700 million.
Holy shit!
Oh,
excuse me?
Yes.
Yo, that's 200 more than Patrick Mahomes is getting.
Right.
That's not what Messi is getting. That's what they have to pay. That's how much they have to pay Barcelona to get Messi.
You kidding me?
Yes.
Yo, we're in the
had to
wrong
give him-
leagues, man.
Right.
I'm in the wrong
God,
profession. What?
The soccer players.
Wow.
Soccer players.
It goes by value, right?
It goes by value.
It seems like.
But soccer players' contract agreement is you buy the player from a team, you sign him, you pay him whatever salary you decide to pay him.
Yeah.
And then in the contract, you say if any team wants you, they have to pay this amount to get you.
Wow.
And Messi's is one that you've never heard before. $700 million.
Millions.
You know what?
Wow.
And so Messi, what Messi's trying to do right now, Messi's trying to say, hey, I've been with you for 20 years.
Yeah.
Can you waive that so I can go to another team?
Yeah.
But they haven't said yes, they're gonna waive that. So it's gonna be a battle between Messi and the team to see what they're gonna do.
Sure, Messi.
wow, that's
We'll take 400 million instead.
For real.
And also, not only the team has to pay the $700 million, and then they have to sign Messi.
Oh,
They have to sign him, and then
he's not going nowhere, man.
and they have to sign him, and then discuss a contract with him, which his salary right now, I believe it's $47 million a year or something. So on top of the $700 million you already paid to get him, you have to discuss a new salary, his new salary, which maybe it'll be 45. I don't know, but I don't see it being less than $45 million a year.
Is soccer ran by the mob?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Is that's crazy right there.
Yeah, that is.
You just said, yo,
pretty
a
wild.
team buys the player. Like, players are being bought.
Right.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's how it works in soccer.
That is
Jeez,
wild.
I know some
know?
kind of contract negotiations y'all got.
Damn.
going over
Now
there.
I'm wondering what.
Those contract negotiations are different, man. That's that's unreal.
Now I'm wondering.
Unbelievable. Wow.
I'm wondering what Cristiano Ronaldo's thing is.
I don't know what. I think his contract, his trading clause, or his Damn, I can't remember the name right now. But I think his is less because he's older. And he just moved to Juventus a couple years ago.
Okay.
But he's much older. He might be 150 million or something.
That is crazy. How much older is
Wow.
I think he's 3 years older.
he? And he still looks good, man.
He still looks good.
He still looks real good,
looks
man.
young. That's crazy. He's
2 or 3 years older.
Wow.
2 or 3 years older.
Wow. Okay. Anything else for the soccer?
No, I mean that's really the big news. Everybody's on edge right now to see where Messi is going, because wherever he's going next is gonna be like everybody else's favorite team. You know what I'm trying to say?
I heard
Right.
I heard actually his new thing could actually have a MLS clause.
Yes,
Yeah,
I did hear
That's
that.
what I heard.
Yes,
Yeah, so-
I've been hearing that.
So one of the teams that's truly interested in him, and that team is ran by somebody from Saudi Arabia, somebody that owns oil, and
Wow.
and one of the team is Manchester City, and Manchester City has a sister team in New York, which is called New York City something. I forgot exactly what the name was, but their sister team. So he would sign for Manchester City for 3 or 4 years, and then at the end of that 3 or 4 years, he'll move to New York and play in New York.
Yeah.
I'm moving to New York when that happens.
Facts. That's a fact.
I don't know, you guys. We're gonna have to do the whole podcast on Zoom.
Let's do it.
Well, we got to come out to New York and do some episodes there too.
We did it before. We could do it again. Yeah, man. But thank you for the soccer update. And
thank you,
last but not least, man, we know it's a long one. The B Money Lifestyle Person of the Week, man, brought to you by B Money himself. Who we got?
Yeah, so for this Be Money Lifestyle Person of the Week, and we know there's been a lot going on this week. It's been a pretty crazy and hectic week, and with a lot of news that has come out. So I think with that being said, it's hard for me to give it to just one person. for this week's B Money Lifestyle of the Week.
Let's not make it too long, though.
Okay, I think what I'm gonna do is I think I'm just gonna give the B Money Lifestyle person of the week. It's actually gonna be the B Money Lifestyle people of the week. I'm gonna give it to the NBA.
Okay.
So, I think we clearly know why I'm nominating the B Money Lifestyle people of the week for the NBA, as they ended up being the first league to, start the, boycotting of, professional sports games when the Milwaukee Bucks decided to boycott Game 5 of their playoff series against the Orlando Magic this week when players had walked out of the locker room and walked out of the arena and refused to play the game, and then they had come out with a statement as far as why they decided to, leave the locker room and not, play the game that day. So, I was, extremely impressed and, proud of the Milwaukee Bucks and the NBA. The rest of the teams followed their lead and, as we said, earlier in the show, and also did the same thing. And then the rest of all the other sports leagues did the same thing as well, even though it took some of them a while to get on board. But as they say, better late than never. So it was definitely much respect to all the players in the NBA that took a stand and are standing up to, the racial injustice that's going on in the country and the, fight for equality in this country, particularly, with, the law enforcement in the black community. So, glad that this happened. It was certainly history that, had happened this week with them, and it was certainly we're going to remember this for a very long time, and it is certainly something that is much needed in order to be able to get the change that we want to see happen in this country. We needed, the players to do something like this, and I'm glad that they had the balls and the courage to be able to, be strong enough and stand up and do it, and not only just talk about it in their interviews and when they're asked on these questions, but also take that initiative and and back it up with their actions. So definitely big shout out to all the NBA players, and they were definitely well deserving, without any doubt and any question, of being the B Money Lifestyle people of the week. So a great job, with everyone for the NBA on how they were to handle this situation, and I hope they continue to keep on getting their voices out there moving forward in the foreseeable future, so that we can see the change that we need to see happen in the country.
Yeah, I'd agree, man. I think, it definitely was cool to see the NBA do that. And it just clearly shows you that the NBA pretty much has the pulse of the country. They're watching what's going on in the other leagues. The NBA is, it seems like they're the league that's out there making the decisions, because you see them making a decision, then everybody else follows suit. So I think they've realized their responsibility, and they're in the forefront of everything that's happening with social justice and all that stuff. And congrats to them, because, it's only right with these leagues being predominantly minority players. So, like you said, man, shout outs to them, man. And that's it. I don't know if Vlad had anything else to add to that, but if he doesn't, that's going to be it for episode 24, man. We'll catch y'all on episode 25. Have a good week. Until next time, peace out.
All right.
Peace.
Oh, yeah, subscribe.
Yes.
You heard?
Yes, subscribe.
All right. We out of there. Gone.
Another episode in the books. That's all she wrote.